All right, so today is day 3 of this first ice deal that we're doing, and I've been driving around all day trying to find some more moderate sized lakes that actually have good ice, and I'm finding out that a lot of them are just still wide open. This warm weather has really sucked for making ice. I think by the time we get to the weekend or so or into next week, we're gonna start making a lot of ice, but for now it's really warm. I might have to go back up north, but I thought that there was a chance because those lakes that I fished yesterday actually had quite a bit of ice on them, and I thought maybe that meant that there could be fishable ice on some of these moderate sized lakes. But long story short, I've driven past probably a half dozen lakes that I would like to fish right now, and I can't get out to them. And I just went out to this lake and took a look. This is another one of the local lakes in the area, and I can definitely fish out here. So we're gonna walk out here, we're gonna drill some holes, and we're gonna see if we can find some panfish. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move around, I'm gonna check a bunch of different spots. Not only am I not seeing fish, I'm also not seeing quite as much weed cover as I'd like to see. So that's kind of part of the equation as well. So it's gotta be the right kind of weeds. I'll show you what we're looking for when we find it. When it's prime time, you definitely don't wanna be drilling holes. You wanna be fishing, you wanna be ready. You wanna have as many different little targets where you can drop your bait as possible so you can find fish when the fish happen to be really snappy at low light. So this is just gonna be a fairly simple system. Basically, I'm gonna jump around to all those holes. I'm gonna drop down the camera, see if I can find something that looks good. Ideally, signs of life. If there are fish there, that is the best case scenario, but I will also accept really good looking weeds. Next, over here to the southwest, at least that's what direction the camera says we're pointing, which is over there. You got some greener stuff, and then we kind of have some of this taller stuff as well, but this hole is not terrible. I think as we move shallower and shallower, the weeds are gonna look better. So on to the next hole. All right. So honestly, I'm always trying to find fish when I'm up in the weeds like this, but I probably dipped this camera into 30 holes and haven't seen anything, which is not a super good sign. And if I'm being honest, I think this is kind of the best looking spot that I've seen so far. There's a huge diversity of different weeds. There's lots of tall stuff up here, which I'm always a big fan of. And it also seems like it's a little bit shallower than kind of some of the surrounding area. So it's almost like a little bit of a hump in this relatively shallow bay here. So we're sitting, it's probably like 9-10 feet on the top of this. And yeah, there's a great diversity of weeds. And I think this is gonna be a really good spot to set up camp. I'm gonna drill a second hole, get this camera here looking at the second hole, and we're gonna see if we can maybe attract some fish into the area and catch a few of them. All right, let's set up camp. So unfortunately, we're not getting really any fish to tease, but one thing that I do love doing is experimenting with different baits. And this is one that I've never actually tried before because I've never really been able to get my hands on it, and it's the silky. It's kind of got a bunch of strands on it, which kind of flap in the water when you're jigging it. I would assume those strands are silk based on the name. You can see what happens when you pound it hard and fast like this. And then also when you give it the nice, slow, sexy wiggle, as they call it. So yeah, I kind of like this bait a little bit better with the really slow little wiggle, just enough to get that tail flopping. It looks like sort of like a worm, but also like a minnow kind of flashing. Sort of a neat action, but this is a tipping that I'll definitely be playing with a little bit. I really feel like to have an honest opinion on any kind of lure or any kind of product or gear or anything like that, you should really be trying everything you know, you can't say, oh, I think something X is the best if you haven't tried everything. So personally for me, I like to give just about anything at least one good try and at least look at it underwater and see if I like the way it looks. And this is something I'm gonna experiment with a little bit more. So it's just starting to get dark. The lighting for this camera is probably super terrible, but as you can see from this underwater footage, the panfish just finally started to show up. And I was trying to play some keep away, keep the bait away from them while I was turning on this stinking GoPro because I got some sort of error, of course, right as the fish were coming in. But anywho, last light, the fish show up. That's just how this thing works sometimes. Now we got company down here. Now we're gonna see if we can tease a couple bites. Doesn't look like it's huge fish, but it's just nice to have some fish down there. So let's see what we can jig up. Well, I wouldn't mind getting a crappie on the ice here. I was kind of thinking we were just gonna have a bunch of bluegills, but definitely take any crappie that's willing to bite. Not sure how I missed that strike, but it is what it is. Looks like little bluegill might take a bite now that crappie's leaving us alone. That bluegill's just been sitting here watching us for the last few minutes. I think I'm gonna change jigs. What the heck? All right, one more chance, right? Gonna give me one more chance? Come on, buddy. There we go. Hitting that drag a little. Sweet. Check that out. You saw it on the camera. Oop. Man, losing control. You saw it on the camera. Crappie. I'm doing super terrible with lighting this thing up. But yeah, we are officially on the board. The first panfish of the first ice series. And all it took was a little meat, as you could see. That crappie came right in and drilled it. So we are not harvesting today, so we're gonna let this guy go. We're also in nice shallow water, which helps too. So that makes it a little bit easier when you're fishing deep basin water. If it's anything over like 20, 25, getting down to 30, that's just gonna be bad news as far as hooking mortality goes. So awesome, let's see if we can catch a few more before it gets way too dark for the camera. Now, one thing that I definitely find interesting when you're fishing for panfish like this is if you're giving those fish something that they're not that into, they might still come up and give it a little snap, but you're probably not gonna have a very good hooking percentage. So just, you know, a couple minutes ago when these fish started to get active and started moving around, I was getting a few bites on that silky, but they weren't really willing to really scarf it down, and that can be a big difference because obviously you saw that I swung and missed. Now that I got some meat on there, which is something that they really, really want, apparently, they definitely come in and absolutely crunch it like that last crappie just did. There we go. There's one. You can't see me, you can't see the hook set, but you could see that fish strike. And I'll show it to you right here. Let me get the light on him. All right, there you go. There's a crappie. This is really, really high production value. But unfortunately, this little light went from bright to dim in a hurry. So I think it's got a cruddy battery, but I'm gonna get this guy unhooked I'm gonna need a fresh wax worm, but here we go. Nighttime crappie fishing. Back to the drink. I think we're gonna wrap things up. We saw a few fish. It wasn't crazy action, but definitely a relief to catch something after searching in 20, 30 plus holes and not seeing anything all day, using the camera, looking around at weeds that didn't have any fish in them. So it was cool to get some low light crappies. If we stuck out here for a few more hours, I know we could catch a bunch of fish that are just kind of randomly meandering through the weeds until they bump into our tasty snack that we're presenting. But I'm gonna head home. I wanna get back in time to hang out with my kids for a little bit before they head to bed and go to school in the morning. So yeah, I wanna thank all of you for watching all the way to the end. This is video number 3, I believe. I'm already losing count somehow in the first ice series where I'm gonna be out fishing on the ice for 30 days in a row, making a video for every single day. So I want to thank you for following me along on the journey so far. If there's anything you want to see, let me know in the comment section down below. And also, if you have any questions, put them down in the comment section below as well, because I read every single comment down there, and I'll either answer it by typing, or maybe what I'm going to do at the end of some of these videos, possibly, potentially, is read your questions and answer them here in the video. So I think that'd be a fun idea, and if you want to participate, put your comments down below. And yeah, until next time, I will see you tomorrow.